From London, I'm Rochelle Travers, and this is The Standard. Can the UK spearhead the artificial intelligence era? The Prime Minister has revealed to the London Standard his intentions to make the UK compete with the likes of the US to become a leader in the rapidly developing technology, and shares his plans on how London will be at the centre of it all. All the details are in the first weekly edition of the London Standard, which you can pick up today. But here with me now to share his insight is our political editor, Nicholas Cecil. Nick, Sir Keir Starmer has told the London Standard about his plans for AI. What did he have to say?
Well, artificial intelligence, or AI as it's known in short, is very much the coming thing. And each country really wants to get ahead of others, get the lead, become basically the global leader. And Sir Keir Starmer basically outlined how London and the UK more broadly could get to the front of this race. And he was very clear about the huge benefits are on offer, about how it can kind of transform so many aspects of our lives, including raising living standards, creating wealth, transforming industry, strengthening Britain's position on the global stage. But also the other thing is helping workers get on with their daily tasks and just giving us a bit more free time in our lives.
Sir Keir wants London to be the centre for this AI movement. How is he planning on doing this?
Well, this is, in terms of what the government does here, is that they've got to try and put some restrictions on how this technology develops. And these restrictions need to be globally agreed in an ideal world. So what the government is doing with an AI bill, bit of legislation, is to try and do some light touch regulation. But what they don't want to do, they don't want to strangle the innovation. It's got potentially huge benefits. So all countries want to harness the power of AI, but to stop it developing into a negative force. Because while the positive aspects of AI are almost limitless, the downsides is that if this technology, fast developing technology, falls into the wrong hands, falls into evil hands, then you could have a kind of almost Armageddon-style scenario of destruction and possibly even existential threat to mankind, according to some experts.
Why is the PM focusing so much on the importance of AI now, do you think?
Well, if we just rewind a bit, Britain held an AI safety summit last autumn when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. And at that time, the very top brains in Whitehall were already warning that we were expecting by this summer just gone, to have our lives basically being transformed by AI. So this is really revolutionary stuff we're talking about. This hasn't happened at quite the pace that the scientists expected, but I think that there's no doubt that this is just around the corner, whether it's months or possibly years. But AI is going to reshape the way we live and work. The particular concern in this increasingly volatile and dangerous world is that if hostile states such as Russia, China, and Iran and North Korea, although slightly less the last two because they're less powerful, but if states which are either hostile or adversaries to the UK manage to leap ahead in AI, then that will put countries like Britain at a huge economic and potentially politically and defensive disadvantage. So there really is an arms race, an AI arms race, to really understand this technology, which is evolving so fast that it has potentially massive benefits, but also possibly worrying downsides.
Do you think the UK can really compete with the likes of America to spearhead this AI revolution?
Well, at the moment, Silicon Valley is ahead. That's very much seen as the number one place. But Sir Keir Starmer told the London Standard how many of these companies, such as Anthropic and OpenAI, have already chosen to locate their European headquarters in London. He's saying that kind of, if you look at these major global firms, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google, they're investing billions into infrastructure to support AI in London. So it's already happening, that there is a focus on London. And Britain more generally has a history of innovation, of entrepreneurs breaking new ground. And in government also, parts of government are very, very agile and quick at seizing and developing on new ideas. Lots of Whitehall is quite sclerotic and slow, but we have centres of excellence which are very much world leading.
You also spoke to some experts about Sir Keir's AI hopes for the UK. What did they have to say?
Well, I spoke to Professor Geraint Maurice. He's the Vice Provost for Research, Innovation and Global Engagement at University College London. So he's one of our leading research experts in the capital. And what he was really stressing was the ecosystem in London of world-class universities, including UCL, Imperial College and King's College London in this area. Also that you've got so many tech giants, you've got so many startup spin-offs. In his words, there's this huge reservoir of talent and also investment capital with the city. So basically, you've got this ecosystem which could really drive forward AI in London. I also spoke to Vishal Maria, who is chief executive and founder of an AI unicorn called Quantexa, i.e. is worth $1 billion. But this is one of the companies which is kind of forging ahead in terms of AI in London. And what he was saying was that 2023 was very much the year, in his words, of demystifying AI for lots of companies and government. So it was all new to them. They're trying to work out how to use it, what advantages it could bring, what potential downfalls there are. But he's saying that now, 2024 is a year where many of these companies and government are really starting to put AI into their systems, into their services to see how it can improve what they're delivering.
And as you mentioned earlier, former UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak held the AI Safety Summit last year. He also did a lot of work trying to attract technology businesses to the UK. Is Sir Keir Starmer just piggybacking on the work Rishi did on this?
No, I don't think so. I think this is such a big issue that any government will want to pick up the baton and drive things forward here, because Rishi Sunak, he held this summit. World leaders came, such as Kamala Harris. You had ex-boss Elon Musk and lots of AI chiefs. So it's quite a big event. And now Keir Starmer wants to pick this up and drive things forward, because it really is so important, not only to nation states, to capitals, to cities, but also to individuals.
And you even got ChatGPT's perspective on whether London is the AI capital of Europe. What did it have to say?
Yes, no, well, this was quite interesting. I'd obviously asked quite a few human beings about AI and its development in London. So I thought it'd be remiss not to ask ChatGPT. And first of all, well, the speed at which it came with its answer was quite startling. And it seemed to sit on the fence a bit, basically, because it did say that London has lots of talents in terms of AI and so on. But it also pointed out that it has other rivals, such as Paris and Zurich and Berlin, cities like that. So it was saying, yes, London is certainly amongst the leaders in Europe, not necessarily the number one.
Let's go to the ads. Coming up in part 2, The Standard's Rachel Abbott speaks to cybersecurity expert Richard Bingley about the Wi-Fi cyber attack affecting major UK railway stations.
At this point, it doesn't look like it's been a mega breach of people's personal data or indeed something sort of too damaging, other than just very threatening, intimidating images.
The Standard podcast will be back in just a moment.
Welcome back. I'm The Standard's Rachel Abbott. A cyber attack has disrupted Wi-Fi services at major UK railway stations. At the time of recording this podcast, around 19 stations are believed to have been impacted, with 10 of them in London. Police are currently investigating the attack on internet services managed by Network Rail. Joining me now to discuss this in more detail is cybersecurity expert Richard Bingley, author of the book Combating Cyber Terrorism. Richard, what do we know so far about this cyber attack?
Well, we don't know too much. It appears a web defacement attack, so it seems to be sort of quite superficial, more of an intimidating message rather than something designed to eavesdrop or collect data. But we need to see what occurs in the actual incident and investigation. Sometimes it takes weeks or months to find out.
And how much disruption has this caused, and how long is it expected to go on for?
These types of attacks, if it is a web defacement attack, shouldn't really incur much disruption for people. They just simply won't be able to use the system for as long as they need to. Usually it's quite a quick fix, actually. But what the provider will need to do is just assess perhaps the depth to which their systems have been infiltrated. And once they are sort of clear on how much they have been compromised, then they can get back, return to normal business and provide the customer assurance. But at this point, it doesn't look like it's been a mega breach of people's personal data or indeed something sort of too damaging, other than just very threatening and intimidating images.
This seems to be the latest cyber attack impacting a UK public service of sorts. We've had the cyber attack on London hospitals a few months ago, and recently the one on Transport for London. How concerned should we be about the cyber resilience of our infrastructure?
Yeah, there's been a conveyor belt now for almost a decade. And firstly, there's a lot of soft targets out there. So it might read in the media that there are, sort of incident after incident. It's true, but there are thousands of organisations for hackers to target. The question really is how resilient are we as UK infrastructure and UK PLC? And really what we do need to see is a lot more detailed training, cybersecurity training for staff. We need to see a lot better incident response plans. Priority areas on the systems need to be locked down a lot better through double factor authentication or even triple factor authentication, better password management. But at the moment, it is an attacker's paradise still. And it's sad to say that in 2024, when we've been looking at this topic now for a decade or longer. There obviously has been a huge increase in cyber attacks upon public services and national infrastructure. That is not necessarily down to spontaneous web activists. It's more around, I believe, state-sponsored cyber attacks against UK PLC. And that is why the government has introduced things like the National Cybersecurity Centre. It's to try, not be alarmist, but to say to organisations and people, look, we are under a sustained threat here to our information systems. Other countries and other groups don't play it as fairly as the UK, and they do attack us, either seeking to take our information and to acquire our research and development, or actually just to generally fatigue the economy by sustained cyber harassment. Unfortunately, this stuff is going on. If you want to find out more, there's information on the National Cybersecurity Centre website. But for about a decade now, this country's been under sustained cyber attacks from nation state actors. I'm not saying that this specific incident is related to that, but it does appear to be a strange modus operandi for any other sort of form of cyber attack group.
What do you think should be done in order to prevent another cyber attack like this from happening again?
Well, as I say, it's very difficult to prevent them because, firstly, there's so many targets, and secondly, there's so many groups and individuals that are carrying out cyber attacks. So this could have been conducted by a nation-state actor. It could have been conducted by a terror group or a terror group activist. It could have been conducted by, a script kiddie or just sort of a web hacktivist. And so therefore, the attack base is very, very wide. You could look at, for example, increasing sentences, prison sentences for those that conduct really serious cyber attacks such as this, because it is very threatening. Staff training needs to be a lot more developed and given to all staff that come onto a corporate computer system. Password management, people need a lot stronger, longer and more complex passwords. And also, when something like this does happen, you need to have a good incident response plan in place so that you can communicate with customers, stakeholders, and also good partnership with the police and investigating agencies so that people can, for example, come into your systems and look at the evidence base. And all of this needs to be tightened up. We have got quite good at it as UK PLC, to be fair. But as I said, there are a lot of soft targets, lots of organisations that don't quite understand how they get targeted. And whereas 10 years ago, hackers were more interested in sort of targeting very high-profile organisations, they were more interested in attacking, for example, government departments such as the Ministry of Defence or foreign ministries. Nowadays, it is kind of the Wild West out there in the cyber networks. There's so many cyber activists that are seeking to attack systems, and there's millions of systems out there to attack. So it's really hard, actually, to be fair, to prevent something like this happening.
And that's The Standard. You can read more about the stories featured in today's episode in the London Standard New Weekly Paper, which is out today, or on our website, standard.co.uk. This podcast will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m.